This video explains bright forest theory, a solution to the Fermi Paradox arguing that non-human intelligence is already here, monitoring specific human activities. It's the only Fermi Paradox solution supported by both game theory and peer-reviewed physical evidence. If you're interested in learning more, stick around. Imagine a galaxy where there are 1,000,000 intelligent species, each possessing nuclear weapons and interstellar travel. Now imagine that just 1% of them, 10,000 civilizations, had leaders as irrational and aggressive as Hitler or Stalin. The result would be chaos. The galaxy wouldn't be survivable. Someone, somewhere, had to prevent this, and only the first civilization to see the problem coming could prevent it. This is bright forest theory. It predicts that the first civilization to develop interstellar travel would stop everyone else from spreading weapons, protecting both themselves and the wider galaxy. Now imagine a vast forest. Each tree is a solar system. The branches are planets, the twigs are the moons, and the bugs on those branches are civilizations, like us. And in this forest, there are also cosmic park rangers, what we call non-human intelligence. Their job is preventing any bug from jumping to other trees and spreading problems. This protects their home tree, and so too everyone else. Each civilization gets its tree. They can jump to other branches or twigs on their tree, just not other trees. The park rangers don't necessarily care about what happens on the tree. Wars, plagues, disasters on a branch, that doesn't threaten the forest so long as it stays on the tree. But the moment bugs develop the ability to jump between trees, the rangers intervene, because one bug exporting problems could threaten the entire forest. So the rule is simple: everyone stays on their tree, and by doing this, everyone stays safe from others. This is just a metaphor, but it's how bright forest theory describes what is actually predicted to be happening to us and to almost every other civilization in the galaxy. And although it sounds fantastic, there's substantial logic and evidence supporting it. Bright forest theory rests on the following straightforward assumptions. First, life evolves to intelligence somewhere else in the galaxy. Not necessarily common, but it happens at least once. Second, intelligent civilizations can achieve interstellar self-replicating probes, by which I mean spacecraft which can manufacture new copies. Third, rational actors use these probes to pursue survival. That's it. As long as those three simple assumptions are true, containment should be in effect. And as I'll show you, using probes to destroy others actually undermines survival. The rational strategy is containment, by which I mean preventing civilizations from reaching other solar systems. That's what the game theory demonstrates. In my new book, Bright Forest Theory: The End of the UFO Mystery, I walk through the complete game theory framework, but let me give you the essential reasoning. Here's why containment is feasible indefinitely. We're approaching artificial superintelligence, also known as ASI. That's AI radically smarter than humans in every area of intelligence. The main reason it is so much smarter is that AI eventually reaches a point where it can improve itself rapidly without human assistance. This sounds bizarre, but is actually a mainstream prediction of AI researchers and CEOs at major companies like OpenAI and xAI. And once you have ASI, you can manufacture anything within engineering limits, including robots that build other robots. And for galactic monitoring and containment of off-world civilizations, you need self-replicating interstellar probes, also called von Neumann probes, a concept from the 1940s. These are probes that are smart enough to manufacture anything, including copies of themselves. Here's how they work. A probe travels to another star system and uses local materials, from asteroids or moons for instance, and it builds copies of itself. Those copies then spread to new star systems and repeat the process. Because they can use off-world materials, the cost to the home civilization is effectively zero. The timeline is remarkably fast on a cosmic scale. If we launched self-replicating probes from Earth at 20% light speed, the probes could reach 1,600 star systems within 250 years. The entire galaxy could be covered in under 500,000 years. This may sound like a lot, but compared to the 13.6 billion year age of the galaxy, it isn't. And remembering that these probes are smart enough to make themselves, containment is essentially free if run by probes. So if you could do something for free to secure the long-term survival of your civilization, why wouldn't you do it? Now consider this. If we're on the cusp of this technology, what are the odds we're first in the entire galaxy? There are 400 billion stars in the Milky Way, and we know there are tens of billions of planets in the habitable zone of stars. The galaxy existed for over 13 billion years before modern humans. So the odds we are first seem incredibly low. There were too many opportunities for life to evolve, and far too much time for someone to get around the galaxy first. Many people think that non-human intelligence has not visited Earth. That's partly because UFO activity seems confusing, and without understanding the rules of the game, it is confusing. But bright forest theory predicts that the UFO patterns we see on Earth are what we should expect and align with the goal of containment. And containment does not require contact. In fact, there are a number of game theoretic reasons discussed in my book for why early contact would not occur. The Fermi Paradox asks, if intelligent life is common, where is everybody? In 1950, physicist Enrico Fermi realized that any civilization with modest rocket technology could colonize the entire galaxy in millions of years, a blink of an eye compared to the galaxy's age. So aliens should have gotten around the galaxy, including to Earth, and he was perplexed because we see no evidence of the galactic empires he expected. Bright forest theory accepts this reasoning but makes one critical change. Swap colonization for containment. Here's why containment wins. The first civilization to achieve self-replicating probes faces a survival dilemma. The galaxy is vast. Others will eventually develop the same technology. Option 1 is to ignore others, but that means potential extinction if someone aggressive develops the same capability, and it would therefore be unacceptable to simply ignore others. Option 2 is to destroy emerging civilizations, but here's the problem. You can never know for certain you're the only one with probes. There might be other civilizations already monitoring the galaxy. If you start destroying planets, you might inspire revenge from unknown observers with equally advanced weapons. Destroying others creates unacceptable risk. It's also deeply unethical. The third option is to colonize, but once you have self-replicating ASI probes, you have a post-scarcity economy, which means everyone is already rich. Your civilization can mine asteroids, harvest stellar energy, manufacture anything indefinitely. You can terraform lifeless planets if you need space. There's no economic motivation to colonize, and colonization risks appearing threatening to unknown observers who might intervene. The fourth option is to contain. By doing this, you achieve security without appearing threatening. You prevent galactic chaos, and it costs essentially nothing once deployed because self-replicating probes are smart enough to maintain themselves. It's the only strategy that's both effective and safe when facing radical uncertainty about who else might be watching. Containment also explains the Great Silence, why we haven't found any aliens with telescopes or broadcasts. If everyone is contained to their home system, they are much harder to detect. We've already seen containment patterns play out on Earth. When the United States achieved nuclear weapons in 1945, what happened? They immediately worked to prevent others from getting the same capability, not from malice, but from survival. Today, nuclear powers actively bomb reactors in other countries, and have put sanctions on Iran and North Korea. Even nations without nuclear weapons generally support non-proliferation because they understand they're safer in a world with fewer nuclear powers. The pattern is whoever achieves dangerous technology first tries to prevent others from acquiring it. Now scale the same thinking to the galaxy. Why wouldn't civilizations want to stop others from gaining threatening technology? If bright forest theory is correct, there should be systematic monitoring of nuclear technology and advanced propulsion by non-human intelligence. Why nuclear? Mainly because every serious interstellar travel design to date has required nuclear energy. This was the case with Project Orion in the 1960s and several other designs since. Nuclear is the only technology we have with sufficient energy density suitable for interstellar travel. Monitoring our nuclear development tracks our progress towards spreading across the galaxy, which is an unacceptable risk from a containment perspective. Similarly, we should expect monitoring of cutting-edge propulsion systems, and that's exactly what we observe. The modern UFO wave began in 1942 with objects that paced World War II aircraft, performed impossible maneuvers, and demonstrated physics-defying capabilities. These World War II objects are documented over 140 times, mostly in official military records. In my book, I show with statistical analysis how impossible characteristics like sharp turns without slowing down, immediately stopping to a standstill from high speed, or invulnerability to damage were repeated time and time again. I also show that the reports were focused around two specific types of aircraft, comprising a small percentage of the total fleet. 1942 was when the Manhattan Project began developing the atomic bomb, and it was also around when humanity first developed advanced propulsion, jets and rockets rather than propeller planes. The pattern is clear. Before 1942, UFO reports were extremely rare. After 1942, they became common and systematic. A non-human intelligence interested in containment would logically have increased monitoring when we demonstrated understanding of nuclear physics and advanced propulsion, because these are the building blocks of interstellar travel. My book calls this the Great Click to Amber. The moment Earth's status was upgraded from green safe to amber, monitoring required in their sort of cosmic Excel spreadsheet, and the change indicates a higher risk civilization warranting active surveillance. And there's a significant amount of evidence that NHI are interested in nuclear technology, but the best evidence arrived in October 2025. In the form of two peer-reviewed studies published in scientific reports, part of the Nature portfolio. Researchers analyzed photographic plates from Palomar Observatory in California, taken between 1949 and 1957. This was before Sputnik, before any human satellites. There should have been nothing artificial in orbit. Yet they found over 107,000 transient objects that were not stars. They were distinct point sources that appeared, shone brightly, then vanished within 50 minutes. They had rounder edges than stars and sometimes appeared to line up. Most notably, these objects strongly correlated with nuclear weapons tests, especially after detonations, but also before. And here's another key finding. The objects were systematically affected by Earth's shadow. Think of a lunar eclipse. The moon dims because Earth blocks the sun's rays from hitting the moon. These transient objects behaved the same way. This means the objects were close to Earth and reflecting sunlight, or their reflection wouldn't have been blocked by Earth's shadow. They weren't distant stars or astronomical phenomena. They were near-Earth objects responding to our nuclear activity, all before humans launched the first satellite. The studies are significant because conventional explanations stack up very poorly to explain the objects. If these were natural objects, why did they correlate so strongly with nuclear weapons tests both before and after? Or if this was some kind of secret satellite program, why have we heard nothing about it in the 76 years since? If you haven't heard of these studies before, it's probably because they received almost no attention from mainstream media, despite being arguably the biggest news story in the history of mankind. There is significant UFO stigma in media. However, there were articles in many science publications, as per the image that you can see now if you want to go and look them up yourself. Remember the Fermi Paradox from earlier? Fermi expected aliens to have reached Earth and was puzzled by their apparent absence. The absence of aliens was deemed so unusual that it was called a paradox, meaning a logical impossibility. Now we have extraordinary evidence, the Palomar study, alongside a theory that explains UFO behavior and predicts NHI presence as a logical necessity for survival. With artificial superintelligence on our own technological horizon, enabling such containment systems, it's reasonable to conclude that aliens are probably here, just as Fermi thought should have happened. The galaxy had 9 billion years before Earth formed, enough time for civilizations to emerge, deploy self-replicating probes, and establish galaxy-wide monitoring billions of years before dinosaurs existed. And BFT predicts that monitoring and containing other civilizations is about serious risk management, so it logically would have happened from as early as possible. Given the age of the universe, it's plausible that it's been happening since the earliest days of planet Earth, and we can take some confidence from that, because if the intent was hostile, we wouldn't be here to wonder about it. My book talks about a range of game theory restrictions on NHI behavior. We don't even have to hope that non-human intelligence will be non-hostile. If they are acting rationally, they will be non-hostile, and the track record speaks for itself. Being restricted from interstellar travel might sound harsh, but consider a parallel from human history. It's November 16, 1532. Francisco Pizarro and 168 Spanish conquistadors faced Inca Emperor Atahualpa and 80,000 Inca warriors. What happened? Betrayal and massacre. Atahualpa was executed. Within decades, 90% of the Inca population died from disease, war, and ill treatment, partly because Pizarro used superior technology to devastating effect. Now imagine someone traveled back in time and offered Atahualpa a choice the day before. Option A, accept the destruction that actually happened. Option B, the foreigners stay away forever. But in exchange, neither Atahualpa nor the Incas can ever leave South America. Which do you think he would choose? Containment works the same way. If we can't reach other solar systems, the same rules apply to others, and we're protected from external threats. And consider the scale. If you live 80 years and travel extensively, you might see 0.1% of Earth. We're not losing much because Earth by itself is already too big for a human lifetime, and we're gaining protection. You might wonder why a bright forest theory-like proposal isn't already a popular Fermi Paradox solution, and the main answer might be stigma. It is doubtful that I'm the first person to think of it, but in science and academia, the UFO topic is stigmatized, and scientists who study UFOs are generally considered outside of the mainstream. Another reason is incorrect domain. If the Fermi paradox is due to alien behavior rather than physical limitations, then scientists aren't the people who are trained to work it out. Economists, on the other hand, study strategic decision-making under uncertainty. But economists don't think the Fermi paradox is in their domain. If you want to dive deeper into this framework, my book, Bright Forest Theory: The End of the UFO Mystery, is available now on Amazon Kindle. In the book, you'll find the complete logical argument laid out in detail, the game theory, a far more significant catalogue of evidence, as well as analysis of the current disclosure context. I walk through why every other Fermi paradox solution has major flaws and why Bright Forest Theory has the most logic, evidence, and parsimony supporting it. You'll also find chapters on what this means for humanity's future, specifically what's predicted from the Great Click to Red, why the stigma exists, and how to think past it. If you're 20% convinced of bright forest theory from this video alone, you'll be drastically more convinced after reading the book.